I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. If you're joining us just on audio today, to my left, we've got Micah. Micah, say hi.
Hey, howdy.
You just bought a house.
Congrats.
Boom.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we got any beer in here? Yeah. The housing market's, as everybody knows, a little rough. So
Sheridan is an awesome place to be, and the housing market is less
reflecting
awesome.
that.
If you're a buyer,
Yes.
it's tough for sure. Across, we've got Mac, our content guru.
Howdy.
Mac did not just buy a house.
I didn't. I still bought when they were kind of pricey here, though.
Yeah.
oh, you're doing great on your.
Listen, we need to have been in the. But Zach's actually got it. Well, no,
Yeah.
you never mind. I'm not.
And-
Spoiler. Sorry.
Spoiler alert. And
All right.
across from me, we've got Zach, our marketing director, who is in contract to buy a house.
Yeah, a couple days out. So,
Oh, when do you close?
the 15th.
Awesome.
So
So 2 weeks out,
A
basically.
little
Yep.
more than.
Yeah.
it's going to go by in a flash. So.
It will. It will. So
Yeah.
it's the week before 4th of July weekend. Go America.
Woo.
That was a week.
that
We
was
should
low
be a little more
energy.
excited. Sorry, it's not cool to be excited about America anymore, so I wanted to keep it PC.
No,
so.
it is still cool, and we still have to do it.
I thought you were gonna
Amen.
like Dylan and Predator. Give me
on there.
give me the Dutch Dylan. Yeah, that's the America we needed.
Well, we've got a couple of things that we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to throw an audible in there. So what I want to do is I'm going to prime you guys so you got a minute to think about, and to the end, at the end, we'll come back to a single piece, or if there's a couple pieces of gear that in the past 2 years you have discovered or used for the first time that you are like, how have I gone this long without knowing or using this piece of gear? I'm going to come back to you and ask about that. I have 2 in my mind that in the past year I've been like, oh man, my eyes have been opened. And these are not paid partnerships, but just some personal things that maybe you like.
All right, the heat is on.
The heat is on. So first real topic, preseason scouting techniques.
Computer.
Oh,
Vague.
yeah.
Well, I'm just
internet.
No, okay, so everybody gets hit over the head with online scouting, but it is legitimately changed the game from, everybody that's using OnX to, I know I use OnX, and it's a combination with Google Earth, but the drive time and going there, I'd still like to do that, but narrowing down and spending a lot of time on the computer. So that's kind of...
Especially when you're hunting a different state. Mike and I just did a spring bear Idaho hunt that there's a podcast on, but we spent 2 months just staring at computer screens, and it was a lot of OnX time. But that we at least had an idea when we were going there. You wouldn't have had that before. We would have had to have driven 8 hours to Idaho, and we flew in. So no, we couldn't even. Would have no idea. To at least have an idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it depends, but let's not talk about generalities. If you have a hunt coming up, what are you doing? So, I drew a special archery tag.
You drew everything
in Wyoming. I did have a good draw cycle this year, but I drew a early season elk tag, so it's only valid for September 1 to September 14. So before the general elk season starts. My goal for the unit that I drew is
it only valid? I thought it was at least valid to the 30th. It's only those 2 weeks?
It's just those 2 weeks.
I actually did not know
and
that.
And if you don't fit, that's kind of the gamble of getting that tag.
I thought you got the head start, but you could still hunt with the other schmucks who are hunting general season archery.
I'm going to have to go back and phone a friend on that. I'm not certain. I've given myself the first 2 weeks of September to get it done. But I put in for a specific unit that has a lot of 50-inch vehicle trail support. And my goal is to essentially ride in on my motorcycle, on my dirt bike, and get really far in, like close to the wilderness area, and hopefully haul an elk out on the back of my KTM.
So has your preseason scouting involved just looking at maps that have those trails, or have you been out riding it all this summer
I
yet?
have been out riding quite a bit, actually, and specifically riding in areas
With the intent to scout.
that I want to be hunting. And so looking for sign as I'm riding, and then also like there's one trail that gets pretty close to a lake in the wilderness area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll drive up that trail and then just walk in my motorcycle boots with a fly rod on my back. So I'm not good at I'm just going to go scout. Like I just walk around and look for stuff. Like I need a mission,
a goal,
beyond that,
destination, yeah.
like an activity at the end. I need a pot of gold. And so for me, like to be able to take a fishing pole up to an area where I'm going to be hunting, and if I see some stuff along the way, and I have, so I've got it narrowed down to a pretty specific area, I feel really good about it. But I'm also going to go find at least one more spot that's nowhere near this spot, just in case that whatever somebody beats me to that place. It'll hopefully give me a little more access. But my secret weapon is the motorcycle. I don't think there's a lot of people hunting off of a motorcycle.
I would agree, especially elk. That's kind of a big critter to have in your saddlebags.
It is.
Well,
it'll be multiple trips for sure.
So time out on this, because I feel like me, who's not a experienced motorcycle person, regardless, this would interest me in terms of using the motorcycle as a tool to scout areas, so I can just zip in, zip out, and be scouting things that I would plan to hunt come September. Yeah. But you're wanting to utilize it as a scouting tool and
access vehicle. I'm a big motorcycle fan. I should probably say that first. Like I've been riding longer than I've been hunting, so that's just true. But I believe 2 wheels are superior to 4. You can get further faster.
Bold claims, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
If you got a down tree on a trail or something, I'm assuming you can just take your motorcycle and kind of lift it up over.
Or just hop the tree,
Yeah.
Just pops a wheelie with that bad boy.
Right. There's a lot of options, but it's really the ultimate backcountry access vehicle because so when like going up Red Grade right here, I'll give specifics on this one. Going up Red Grade to Park Reservoir, what's that take you in a car?
Time-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, probably 30, 45 minutes, depending on how slow you're going.
Yeah, it's
state of the road.
It's like a third of that or less for me.
I believe it. I've seen some of those guys zipping down and up Red Grade, and I'm like, oh,
so
don't fly off the side.
For folks that don't know, we're talking kind of like not a rock crawler, but it's pretty rugged trail.
Yeah, it's somewhat fire roady. There's not really too many obstacles, but
it has its moments.
Yeah, it's more traffic congestion. Is, I think, what takes the most time. But there's a back way to get to Red Grade that you don't stay on Red Grade the whole way, or to get to Park Reservoir, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it's like super, super fast. So anywhere up there, like
I probably drove half of
the
it.
general loop that you did probably took a full day.
No, half a day.
Okay, that's
Oh, that would take like
that's an evening
45.
ride. It's an evening ride.
An hour on a bike. Yeah.
So it just the time that I can save and the fun that I can. Have.
You enjoy riding bikes too. So that's like that's part of the hunt for you and the scouting.
I guess that's not what I intended to talk about, but it's like meshing 2 passions together.
But that's important though, because that plays heavily into why you chose your strategy.
It is.
That's your preseason scouting strategy.
I'm liking his strategy in terms
Mike
of
is about to go buy a bike.
The speed. Well, the speed to get out there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, hiking. If I can utilize a tool to get make things easier and quicker. And by the way, motorcycle's fun.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
4-wheeler's a good tool as well, but I don't think you pick up much of the speed on four-wheeler. It's definitely easier than riding a motorcycle, and you can haul way more out.
That's the difference.
But
is payload.
So here's my thought process is I can effectively day hunt some areas from my motorcycle that I probably wouldn't even do from an ATV, because I can get in light and quick, and if I need to move, I'll just move, and I can go from one end of the Bighorns or one end of this unit to the other end in an hour on my motorcycle and be hunting a completely different area. If I'm like, oh, there's no elk here, I'm gonna move, and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna waste a day moving. So I'm more about the entry, and the exit is not as useful on a motorcycle. I'll probably be 3 trips to get an elk out, maybe 4.
Yeah, but by the time an animal's down, I mean.
But those 4 trips will be done in about the time it would take to do 1 or 2 on an ATV. So.
Yep. And all of them would be the same amount of time it would take to get 1 trip out on foot.
Oh man, yeah, not even. You have to have trails to support it. So there are a number of 50-inch vehicle trails where you can't get a car that I've seen elk many times on. So I mean, in Montana here, there's no elk. So
yeah. Well, what do you guys think about timing in your summer scouting? Because that's something like I felt like I always go early because it's convenient for my schedule, but then as it gets closer to season, cattle, change with the grazing stuff or
temperature.
Exactly. Maybe they're moving from pressure from outdoor recreation folks.
I hike. I'll be interested to see, Luke, because obviously the snows will vary a lot. But if you're going all the way up to the wilderness area, I bet some of the bigger bulls will hang behind, which obviously is the hope. But it'll be interesting to see if we get an early snow in September with that early tag.
Yeah.
Because you got to think when you're hunting elk in the mountains, a lot of their winter-fall schedule is based on the temperature, and that's the elevation they're going to stay at. Mm-hmm. I found 200-something elk last year, and 3 to 5 good bulls that I was like, it was a herd of 200 cows, and the bulls were hanging out right nearby. I was like, I'm going to go hunt here. There's a huge herd just hanging out here. And I am not an experienced elk hunter. I took my first one last year. And I was like, but this is perfect. I know where they live. There's this nice big prairie. I'm going to hunt in around this area. There got to be a ton of them around here. And then I came back in the fall, and it's there was nothing there.
Desolation.
I was like, where'd they all go? I mean, I grew up hunting deer. I'm like, you find a deer, he lives somewhere within 5 miles of there. Yeah. He's going to be there. But those elk, summer, go up that mountain way up in the wilderness.
Yeah, but here's
down.
I'm
come
gonna
on down.
the way up in there, because one of the good things about the motorcycle is I can cover a ton of ground really quick. We just talked about that. So I've been riding a lot in June, and I came across elk multiple times in places where I would not have thought they would be, low.
I think there's always going to be some low.
You're getting into the residential. They're just there year round. They're hanging on private ag fields or other places that utilize or elk can utilize year round, and they feel safe, or they're just used to the pressure or people moving around. And then you have that elk population that move a ton that you're hunting migration
no doubt
corridors.
The main herd is probably up high in the wilderness area, and as the weather comes in, they're going to push down. But I think there's going to be satellite groups.
I think you're right. I just think even as a novice, or if I'm just thinking about going for animals, I'm like, all right, where am I going to find the highest capacity or the greatest amount in a general area? Mm-hmm. And I'm going and looking for that. And so I think it can depend. I think you will find elk that high up. I just think depending on the snows, it'll be interesting to see how many elk you found. Last year with Adam and Brenda, when I was up there with them, we were up there with a cow hunter where they shot their bulls, and we couldn't believe there was a cow hunter sitting up there. We're in 2 feet of snow, and we're like, what are you doing up here?
She's got to be
you could just
yeah.
You could have hiked way not less. As far, buddy.
Yeah,
and
it's a different experience at that point.
I don't think you shot a cow.
One of my main questions coming out of this is, do you have to have an orange helmet?
Oh, great question. Man.
You might have to buy. You might have to buy more gear.
I have kind of a fluorescent yellow and green helmet.
I don't think that meets spec.
He's a motocross guy. He's probably got some fluorescent clothing.
I was just gonna put like a big orange like patch on my backpack because I'm gonna basically just ride in, and I'm not even gonna wear my motorcycle boots. I'll just ride in and different pants just so I don't smell like exhaust. And I'm archery hunting, so I'll probably change my outer shell, but I'm gonna ride in my boots and keep it light and quick is my goal. But I use Onyx Hunt a lot because you can filter the trails. So I like, for riding, I love to find the trails, the 50-inch vehicle trails or less, and the bighorns usually means it's not maintained well, which for me means it's better riding. It's a little bit harder, and then they're way less traveled, way less traveled, and so we can hopefully find some elk. That's my goal.
Yeah, so like Luke's strategy, largely based on like the riding trails. I do a ton of e-scouting, maybe even more than I should. I spend a lot of time staring at Onyx, but like I don't know, when I'm looking for where I'm going to go, since I don't have an ATV or I don't have a motorcycle, I'm here riding the ultimate backcountry vehicle, which is these 2 feet.
I don't know if those qualify as a vehicle.
Locomotion gets me where I'm going. I look for a lot of those trails that are kind of off the beaten path, but don't allow vehicles. Like, that's my strategy. And I'm even thinking of adapting my strategy this year, and we talked about this. Kind of the idea, is it better to go 10 miles in on a trail where you think nobody's going to hike?
Are we going to spoil a strategy here?
Hey, it's not. I don't know if it's spoiling it. There are people out there doing it. Is it better to go 10 miles into a trail and then get a mile or 2 off that trail and say, wow, I'm in here way further than anybody else? And then the guys with horses pass right by you. Yeah. Or is it better to find a spot on the trail, maybe get a mile or 2 into a trail, and then just bust yourself to get 3 or 4 miles off trail into the middle of nowhere? I think I might try that this year. On that, we had the benefit of flying into a strip, but on that bear hunt, Mike and I got 3 miles off the trail, and we were surrounded by critters the whole time. I hiked last year. Hiked last year. Since I didn't have the bike or didn't have the ATV, I hiked 6 miles to like my starting point, and I was the only guy on foot there, but I was not the only guy there. Yeah. There was 2 guys over here with horses, 3 guys over here with mules, a couple guys over there with horses, and it's like, if you go where there's a trail, if you can ride, that's one thing. That's your advantage to getting further. I think this year I personally might try finding a spot that's maybe a couple miles in the trail, and then I'm just going to bust it off the trail because I don't think a lot of people are doing that. Now, I might just come out looking like I fought a grizzly bear, scratched and bruised and busted, and not have an animal.
You've got to be, like, I think more than anything, mentally prepared for that. I did that strategy, I guess, 2 years ago. And I was rewarded. There were elk where I assumed elk would be, but it was so darn hard to get there. Yeah. And I love Onyx, but I think there's something wrong with their topo lines.
They're a little.
There's areas where there just shouldn't be any, and there's still like lines. Like, oh, I could get up that. I'm like, you actually see it in real life. Like,
it's a cliff.
That's an actual cliff. Yeah. There's no gradient to that slope whatsoever. Yeah. And that's what has burned me the most about getting off trail. Yeah. Is actually getting from A to B, and then often the woods are so dense. Yeah, you might be surrounded by game, but you can't see squat anyway.
And that's one thing that's really hard about the scouting aspect of it. It's like I'm like you. I need a rainbow or a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like if I go like hiking up to the Alpine lakes and stuff, but I've got to have a lake or something I go to. Like I've got to. Even if I'm not going to fish it, like I got to go somewhere that's pretty and I can sit, hang out. Like I got to be going somewhere. I can't just go and hike. I don't like hiking a loop. And so therein lies, like, for scouting, it's going to be really hard for me to convince myself this year that I need to go bushwhack for 4 miles and maybe not see anything.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, well, if I have a tag in my pocket, I'll bushwhack all day. But
you guys brought up Mac pulling off right off a major roadway. diving in, not on trail, and then you're riding in super deep. And I think I would say my approach to that is certain spots. Like if I think this is going to be the elk honey hole and it's going to be untouched, I'm going to push and go, 7 miles or whatever, 8 miles back in there on trail just to get back into this, little honey hot where the time to move, like I'm putting all my eggs in that one basket.
Yeah.
But I really like not going that far, not putting all my eggs in one basket, and being mobile to, say, even if it's a road or being at the truck, so you can jump in 2-3 miles, see what's there, on trail, off trail, whatever. No elk here. I'm going to pop to the next spot and cover. With elk being so hard and finicky and being able to cover so much ground, I think that, I don't know, I like both strategies. I mean, you can kill them both ways. But
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking at Onyx every time. I'm like, I'm not just bushwhacking to the middle of the forest, like I'm bushwhacking to a glade or a park or something.
When I went in, I mapped out a loose triangle that I was trying to cover, and I got cliffed out more than once, and my triangle turned into like a octagon. but I had a general, like, I need to get to this exact spot one way or another. I feel like elk are going to be there, and they were, which was awesome. But it was just hard.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys gone out to, because I'd like to go out and put a, say like a trail camera on a wallow, or especially if you're going in that early, you get the first 15-day
I've thought about
period.
doing that, and I have not done that, but it's crossed my mind. I actually need to do that. It's not a bad idea.
Don't have trail cams.
Kind of how you're talking about, you have to have a goal to get to be able to do your scouting. Well, considering I'm the only person here, I think, that is completely tagless in Wyoming this year, despite having put in for multiple species. It's kind of hard to have.
No scouting.
Zach isn't a resident
He's
yet.
not a
He's not
resident,
that unlucky.
So my scouting is completely different.
Yeah.
I've actually been scouting for bird hunting buddies.
Oh yeah,
and I've found a few. And so I found somebody this weekend as I was kind of four-wheeling up on the mountain. We're going to do a bunch of bluegrass hunting, which is going to give me a great opportunity to scout.
There's some solid bluegrass hunting up
No,
there.
there's not.
I mean,
not.
in Texas.
When you were on the mountain in Montana.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be my scouting is finding buddies to go bird hunting with, to then get a little bit more used to these mountains and get up in there and actually see what I can see. And I think as those bluegrass move up and up and up, I have a feeling I might actually get a bit of an understanding
of some critters.
Normally I'd say my scouting used to wait until August. I had to wait for the Kansas walk-in maps to come out, and then I'd be pouring over stuff.
Do they change every year?
Every year.
Oh, like
So
farmers like.
Yep.
Okay,
Everybody.
yep.
So in Kansas they have 2% public lands, which it leads the nation.
Right behind Wyoming.
Yeah, there's no public land here. Yeah. And I had to have to wait till August to get the walk-in maps, and then you spend hours trying to find. Not even really hours with Onyx. It's a little easier, but
Wow.
Yeah.
I think your method, Micah, bears fruit about the mobileness, but I also think you have to look at it. Obviously, it depends on what you've drawn a lot of times. Like Luke, so Luke drew that early season tag. Luke's going to be in there before a lot of us.
Yep.
We're stuck general. And the general idea of general is most Jim Bobs and Joes seem to be rocking that I'll hike in 2 miles, get in my truck, and drive around. The amount of trucks we see come hunting season is. So it's like, it's kind of that line. Like, I think that strategy isn't, I'm not saying it's useless, but I think if I'm using that strategy where I want to be mobile, I think I drew a unit. And I want to, like, I don't know this unit that well. I want to be able to get around in it. If I'm hunting general, a lot of times it might be the wrong strategy. It might be the right. I feel like I just have to get away from people.
Yeah, that's my strategy with general. Like, I want to look for the worst possible weather day. That's when I want to go. Or
not on the weekends.
We did manage that.
Oh, I shot my bull last year, and probably the most common public access in this area for sure.
The whole state of
on
Montana.
a Saturday. And I think the reason that it worked out for me was it was just a straight blizzard for pretty much most of the day. And I saw 2 other people, they were walking out, and I'm like, if I can make it till evening, it's game on. And it worked. Yeah. But yeah, I think you got to be willing to go longer or further than people.
Thanks, First Light.
If you're in.
Well, I would add to that. I've done those, but I've done going, really far hikes, almost to the point of which, logistics-wise, you're risking meat spoilage on a big critter getting it out. So, done that. But the one or longer, I've done long hunts too. But at the same time, I think the third thing that I'm trying to think about is those escape corridors and where they go for security, where they hole up in the deep dark timber when they feel all the pressure from hunter. Like, the old timer out there that kills his elk every year because he's been hunting that unit, he knows exactly where they go when all the, out of towners come in. So I think diving into that kind of segment of the knowledge is where, they're a little more experienced hunter. They've been around, they know this unit, and they kind of know those corridors. I think there's something to be said about that kind of home field advantage.
Yeah, I think the general strategy, though, for not having home field advantage is look for where they can feed, where they can get water, and where they can sleep. If you can get on or find a spot where all those 3 things are close to each other, and it's got a real elky vibe about it, then yeah.
Yeah, elky vibe.
Which somehow we became all elk, but I
Yeah.
guess
Well, we can talk about deer and antelope too. So my strategy.
Yeah, I do a lot of antelope scouting.
My strategy for antelope is there's not one. So that's that one. For deer,
I look for the ones that have been hit by trucks.
Yeah, that's a different story. Stay tuned. For deer though, like this year, I put intentionally in for a spot where I can hunt with my son, and we'll both have antelope and deer tags in our pocket at the same time. So it's his first year hunting big game in Wyoming, and we can hopefully,
efficient.
It's like, all right, the chances of finding one are maybe not super high, but finding one of 2, if it just felt like it increased our chances. And I'm not really doing a ton of preseason scouting because we're not trophy hunting. We're meat hunting this year. So I've got a pretty good idea, I guess, with previously scouted areas of where they hang out, but.
Yeah, well, that's us developing that old man in the woods knowledge that Mike was talking about.
True.
You get your spots. The one nice thing about hunting, if you get stuck hunting generals, is at least you find out where you don't need to be year after year.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Well, the mule deer thing, to me, I've struggled with is not finding them. It's just finding a big one. So if you want to find the gray ghost, which is to me is I've just gotten lucky or something in the past, or I did not even, this wasn't even my radar, and holy cow, there's a stud over here, and I'll, screw up the stock or something. But to me, the big mule deer is you have to draw, or you have to go to a good area. Or you get lucky and there's one on the egg fields, somewhere. But to me, just finding that big one has been a crapshoot for I don't know, not being able to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a difference, I think, between public land hunting for deer and private land hunting. If you can get a deer on private land, you can get cams out and try to figure out what its routine is. And in the Midwest, you start naming deer. Oh, that's old crab claw, and that's, 3 forks, and, whatever. It's different on public land where it's a little bit more opportunistic. I think you can do preseason scouting and maybe see that deer again or not.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like they're the dumb young ones are, to me, easy to hunt for if I'm just going to go meat hunt. But to find a big one, that's, I don't know. I mean,
like
they're different.
Yeah, they're. I mean, a lot of my preseason deer, like I'll do preseason deer, but a lot of my preseason deer comes in bow season. So bow hunters, we get a little bit of the leg up there with it starting September 1st. So I hunted probably 20 of 30 days in September last year, whether I just went out right after work or I went on the weekend, and it was just mule deer because elk didn't open until halfway through. And in that time, I hunted pretty much the same spot every day after work because there was a public land spot we could get into, and I knew there was at least decent deer running around in there. And I saw 2 or 3 deer in there would shoot. But then only 2 times out of like those 20 days, I saw an absolute stud. But he, I think, lived on the private land and only occasionally hopped over to that public land. And those big ones are smart. And I think you will find them in surprising places amongst all the youngsters, but they're not going to be I could have gone back every day and named some of those deer. But him,
it's interesting on some of the scrub units that I got to go last year and kind of just check out how interesting it was that there wasn't anything in there when season was going on, and then 2 days after season, if you're in there and you see a giant buck just standing there, like he's smart enough or senses it or gets pushed around enough that he made it through. I don't know. That's just.
They're smart. They're smart critters. You never know what they're gonna do. 2 years ago, I was hunting a smaller portion that we could kind of day hunt here or hunt. I was hunting before work a lot. And opening morning, there was way more orange hats than I anticipated. I got in, I think, first or second, and was set up waiting. I had scouted this area during archery season, found a good buck. I'm like, grab this guy. It's going to be great. People everywhere. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So I need to walk out. I need to get to the office. What's standing right by my truck? The big deer. By all the trucks. All the hunters were way in.
He's just shoplifting, just busting windows.
He could have just been taking all of our stuff out of our trucks.
Oh, that looks like
unreal.
Looks like some ammo. You're gonna need that.
Yeah, I saw multiple deer so close to the trucks that everybody must have hiked in the dark, and the deer probably just skirted past everybody away, going back to the trucks. It's crazy.
That's hilarious.
Did you get him?
No, I never did.
Oh.
But he lives. I've seen him.
Oh,
that's good.
So nice.
That's good.
To be continued.
I still don't know if that big one lives.
Yeah.
We're gonna
So
look for him.
different strategy this year.
Yeah.
You gonna post up right at the trucks and just wait.
I'm gonna give him it's a general area. I'm gonna give him a more hearty effort during archery season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the trick, because this area, I was out there a lot of days during archery season. I never saw a person. Rifle
As soon
season
as
started,
that opener, yep.
Whew.
I saw one other guy during all bow season now where I was deer hunting.
Which kind of brings us to the next topic, and participation is going to be way, way up this year. I think we already saw that. Did you guys look at the leftover draw stuff yet?
What leftovers?
Exactly. Yeah. I remember, and this is not a complaint. I think getting more people involved is awesome. It has to change the strategy a little bit. I remember the first year that we got here, looking at leftover tags, you could get almost any antelope, buck or doe, right around Sheridan.
Yeah.
The next year, some bucks, still plenty of does. This year, almost nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's 2 units in the state that had leftover buck tags, and they're private land units.
Yes.
And it's like units that is all owned by gas companies. Like,
yeah.
Like, good luck getting.
So last year there was a lot of orange hats running around, and I think this year it's going to be more, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's going to come back to what we were talking about. You got to go. What did I say?
Go further, stay longer.
Yeah, go further, stay longer. That's
shout out First Light.
Yeah, great slogan, First Light. Wish I'd have thought of that. No, I mean, that's really going to be the name of the game this year. Is you got to start thinking real different, or be willing to endure the suck longer than anybody else.
Yeah,
to get it done.
It's go on off days, not the weekends. Bad weather, like you were saying. Bad weather might kill the hunt, but hey, maybe the sun comes out and boom, there they are. You got to stick it out. Especially if you're taking a trip and those are your days. Don't sit back at the truck or in the tent if it's a bad. Get out and hunt. That's your time to.
Yeah, if you're burning vacation time, do it.
I'm there.
Go all the way, because it's going to be hard to weekend hunt, I think, this year. I think it's going to be There's not a lot of leftover tags. And
So do you think that there's more residents hunting? Because I feel like that would lean more towards weekend hunters.
I think there's got to be more. Well, Wyoming didn't bump this. I don't know what the other states' tag situations are looking like, but I know like Idaho just basically they doubled the price, cut the tags in half for non-residents.
Well, does this lead into our next discussion of the money and tag prices?
Is
and
Micah
stuff?
going to say it?
Or-
Is he going to drop the line?
Is it becoming elitist? Is that where you're headed?
Well,
You know,
I don't want to say I'm not looking to push anybody's buttons or anything, but I don't know. It's something that's gonna happen, So in 10 years, in 15 years, how?
Yeah, is a elk tag in Colorado in 15 years $2,000 for a non-res? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I can remember when it was like 500 and it's pretty much 1,000 now.
I think we saw in the last 4 or 5 years here, you see state after state cut the tags in half, double the price.
I'm not sure about the cutting tags in half.
Yeah, just the increase in price. I think an out-of-stater in Kansas as of a couple years ago was $400, and it's probably gone up.
Yeah.
I think
Just for a deer.
Idaho did.
There's probably in isolated areas.
I thought Montana did as well. I might be wrong.
Each state's game and fish has to manage their populations. So in theory, the number of tags, unless there's a significant weather event or something like that. We had a big antelope die off down by Casper with a bunch of blizzards this past year. But so they reduced tags for that reason. But I think the elk they increased like a ton of tags this year in the same general area because elk made it. But
I know that there's the biologists, they're supposed to go through and say this area is, at objective, so we're going to maintain the same tags, or this area is over objective, so we're going to increase the tags.
For conversational sake, so let's just say tags are constant number, but the prices keep going up.
Keep going up.
Yeah.
Well, surely wages will increase with time as well,
Well,
right?
now we're getting into a slippery slope there. Just
everything gets more expensive every year.
But
inflation's real, for sure.
To me, it's like college tuition inflation. It's
Yeah.
skyrocketing, and
Almost,
yet, the wages or other things are kind of just slowly creeping along. So I think I want to see everybody have the ability to hunt. I don't want it to be a
we should
get out my checkbook.
We should clarify to a degree. It's mostly Western big game hunting. I mean, I don't think you're seeing.
Yeah, that's true. But even I think some of the Midwest states, like for just a non-res whitetail,
I think a non-res whitetail in Wisconsin is like $90.
Well,
like
good on
Kansas.
Wisconsin, but some of the other states are.
Are they going up?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nebraska just doubled their non-resident from it was like 260 or 280 to like 380, so they just added another $100 to it.
But it's supply and demand too, right? I mean, that's just good economics. If it's a local state, I mean, these are not for-profit public companies. These are states trying to generate money from a state resource.
This sounds like a hot take.
I actually learned something from one of the guys when we were back Idaho bear hunting. He's from Colorado, and he's I guess I didn't know it, but apparently Colorado Game and Fish are mixed with Parks and Rec, so they're now like
Parks and Wildlife, yeah.
So they're
now
entity.
Parks and Wildlife.
So all the money that saved from tag sales, and I'm not an expert on this. This is hearing it from a Colorado resident that was kind of given the lowdown. So the money from tag sales and stuff is going to some park. So I think the budget thing and the tags, that might be, I would like to see those two entities separated. So, the tax dollars from hunting and fishing goods, tag prices go back to, protecting the resource and protecting the critters and the management of them.
I'm okay with the use of the dollars for non-hunting purposes, but I think as an industry and the government, we suck at saying where that money comes from. Federal excise tax, I've talked a little bit about it before. We pay a ton of money in federal excise tax, 10% of everything we sell essentially. and every other company. We're not the biggest. Look at like a SIG. They're probably paying tens and tens of millions of dollars a year that go into the coffers for federal excise tax that the states have access to, that put in backpacking trails that will never be hunted, stuff like that. But I just think it's important that people understand where that money came from.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get people outside.
The sportsmen and women are footing their tax. They're footing a larger portion than a BMXer or a mountain biker. Nobody's is paying something that's getting taxed.
There's no more BMX, Micah. I don't think they do that anymore.
Tony Hawk is still doing things.
So if we do a trail runner or a mountain biker who's utilizing the same resource as the hunter had to, or fisher had to buy the fishing pole, had to buy the license, had to buy, getting taxed, buy the ammo. Yeah. And so they're putting more money into, back into the resource, and versus some of these other, recreational activities are awesome and I love them and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, they're not really putting into the pot.
Yeah.
So
They could put in like 3%, and there'd be a whole lot more conservation money.
Well, that's a whole nother topic too.
It
That's
is
that
a whole nother
backpack
topic.
tax thing. So we're getting into this dangerous territory where we're going to get some serious email traffic on how dumb we are.
don't claim to be an expert on this, but
They won't be the first. They won't be the last.
I think at the core, I think every state is going to see participation up this year. Even if there's no more people in the field, I bet I'd be curious to know how many tags get sold that never actually even get attempted
used.
to use. Not filled, but like don't even step foot in an attempt.
They bought it, and don't even.
I'm sure that happens everywhere.
I guarantee it happens.
don't they have? Is that the active status?
They're
or
they're
is
not
that-
mandatory surveys.
Some states have
okay,
mandatory,
okay.
but
Not-
if you, I bet this year may be the lowest ever on
just through sheer number of tags
the
sold.
sheer number of participation on the tag. Like getting out there, people have been cooped up for almost 2 years, and I think they're ready to hit the field and at least try to fill a tag.
Yeah.
So we're bringing it back. So we're upping. It's I think it's less a question on like the upping the tag prices. We said let's assume tags are a constant number. Is it the demand is up? You said basic economics. Demand is up, so you're selling these tags. Is it because of the craziness happening in the world right now? Are we going to see a drop off when that happens? And if so, is
There's never a drop off.
never a drop off? If the raised prices deter people from hunting and the numbers start to go down, do you think they see them raise the prices to fix that deficit or lower them to get, more people in on it? Like as hunters for the last, 50 years or whatever it is, I don't know the exact statistic, but I know we've gone down. It's
that's true.
It is
generally we're trend for the first time, I think, and if you take like a 3-year swatch, we're trending up, I believe, over the past 3 years.
Yeah, which has been awesome. We've seen it in the industry. We've just seen it as people and talk about the pumpkin patches out there, and all the tags being sold. It's kind of I'm just thinking from my simple Midwestern roots, obviously Western big game hunting was always out of the question for me and my dad. It's like, oh, we're going to have to pay the plane tickets to get out there, but we could always hunt in our home state. But if you get to the point where these tags become astronomical, where people look at it as more of a luxury than your basic right to get outside and harvest your state's natural resources, where does that? I know we can't in this office say where that line is,
but
but
conversation, right? Because you're talking about every state's a little bit different. When I lived in Indiana, there wasn't like a quota. There was every resident, you could get I think it was 5 tags, and if you played your cards right, you could get more than that because there's you could get bonus bucks. If you shot a doe before you shot a buck, you got an extra buck tag.
Huh.
So, but for out of state,
We had that in Nebraska, earn a buck.
Yeah.
You had to shoot a doe, you could earn a buck. One year, it was, particular, hey, let's get population down a little bit. But
I think the question that you're asking, Mac, is if participation does start waning, will the tag prices come down?
yeah, will we see a reversal of action, or will it just stay what it is?
I think it would have to drop
And
a lot.
if it does or doesn't, what is that? I mean, obviously we can't answer those questions at this table, but like, what does that look for hunting in the future?
It does increase the barriers to entry, to play the game. I mean,
Well, I think we should start looking at the other side of it. What are the agency's budgets? How many people are they employing? How many biologists? How many studies are being conducted? How many millions of dollars does it take? So you're saying you've managed this resource for the last 20 years, and now like Idaho hadn't raised their price in like a really long time. I'm not super educated on the situation, but like they hadn't raised it in a long time, and then boom, they like just double it. I don't know if was it actually doubled or what.
It was about double.
Okay, yeah. So you've been managing this resource for this amount of years. It's been adequate. You've had good hunting, except for when the wolves came in. Then you double it. What are the actual millions of dollar amount from, well, you said they cut the tag, so then you're basically
I believe they did. Once again, we're going not really.
Yeah, this one's, I might call that one because we got to assume, and if we don't know, let's just say that the tags or numbers are the same because we're not certain.
Okay,
so that's dangerous.
Because I was just going to say, you're going to add this much to your budget. What is the justification, or are you just gouging it to the non-residents, or
all the employees got a big raise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I see him possibly trying to take advantage of some of those excise tax funds, like trying to capture them.
I hope so.
Because you have to be able to match it with state funds. That's how you are able to corral that money that comes in from guns and ammo sales. So in my mind, I don't know if again, we don't know the question of did the tag numbers get cut, but in a record gun sales year like this, where there's a ton of federal excise tax out there, maybe they're trying to take advantage and be able to bring more money in to be able to do more studies and have a better grasp on things.
Okay, so explain that to somebody from the outside looking in, because I don't totally understand that. I'm not involved in the money. You can only take a percentage of like what your state brings in? You can take it from the federal excise, or what are you saying there?
So say a state, like say Wyoming wants to put in a massive elk habitat right here in our backyard.
That'd be nice.
They could either try to foot the bill on their own. Most states aren't going to have the money to do that. Or they can apply for money from federal excise tax. They do get some, I think, no matter what, based on a percentage of sales and across the nation. But on a big project, they'll apply, and as long as they can come up with half the money, I think there's some rules behind it, but generally they'll get half the money.
Okay, so you can get more if you can raise more.
Correct.
If you could raise more money, you can double the money you have.
So my
so
question
that's basically
is,
a match.
What is the what's like the Sportsman's
like
Act
a 401k
tax that goes to what I was talking about earlier? So like a fishing rod and a gun.
That's the same thing.
That's what's the name of that?
Pittman Roberts.
Yeah.
That federal excise tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one and the same of
Yep.
okay. I was when you were saying excise, I thought it was the something else on the sales.
The name of that bill was Pittman Roberts. Federal excise tax. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think this year it's going to be an interesting fall. I'm excited. So to start off this episode, I said, I'm going to come back with a question, and we kind of got on this First Light theme of, go further, stay longer. So is there a piece of gear that has maybe helped you go further or stay longer that you're willing to be like, this is my stamp of approval on this thing?
Injinji toe socks.
Oh, you weirdo! Your toe socks.
Wait. What was the first part of the toe socks?
Injinji is I think how you pronounce it. Injinji.
That's like the brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
socks.
just toe socks because, and this was validated in Idaho from a complete stranger. Was rocking the toe socks as well. But anyway, basically my whole deal was having too stiff a boot, too soft a boot, having a lot of foot problems when you're doing 16 plus miles or maybe you're just doing 5 miles, but it's all backwoods off trail, and you're going
There's
hard.
no flat footsteps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having feet problems used to be it used to make me limit how I could hunt. And so basically I took in some stuff that I've learned from a few buddies over the years with and Injinji toe socks was one of them. So
are they wool or like they're just regular old like running toe socks?
They're like a liner, a thin liner that is
like
breathable,
silk, right?
Oh, it's a liner sock. You're not just rocking some like boot socks that have toes on them.
Yeah, no, it's just a liner and then it goes inside my wool sock. And sometimes I'll even do it's called foot goo or hiking goo, and that it mitigates hot spots before they start, especially if you have a brutal pack in or something. So that's kind of a shout out to Jaden, who
shout out.
Yeah, showed me that. So I think the toe socks, and then I finally did it this last trip. I did one of those little air pillows. It weighs like 3 ounces, and I can't believe I've always like bunched up a jacket or something and tried to do it, and it's pretty simple and it's super tiny. Can't believe it took me this long to finally pull the trigger on something that's literally $20 or something. So
nice.
Those are my two.
Toe socks, pillow. Okay, Mac.
I actually have one of the same as Micah. It's a pillow. My love for the backcountry pillow is well documented in this office. I will sleep on rocks without a sleeping pad.
Mac does not bring a sleeping pad, but will bring a pillow.
I cannot sleep without my head elevated. I can't do it. I sleep. I'm like that guy at home in bed that like I stack like 3 pillows up and my neck is like this when I sleep.
When I get to a hotel and they have firm pillows, it drives me nuts.
I don't necessarily need them to be like firm pillows. I just need like.
Do you do the hotel thing? This is I take the pillow, chuck it, or throw it in the chair, or whatever, and then go to the bathroom, get the bath towel, I roll that up, and that fits perfectly.
I have done that. Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're sleeping there, and it's like, it's so.
So you like to sleep like you're just leaning against a couch, basically.
Yeah, I sleep great on the couch.
Awesome.
Yes, I need a back, but I am going to try some of the air pillows. I can't do it anymore. Like I'll bring it on a solo trip, but I can't do it so much when I bring camera gear on room in the bag. But I have like a literal like stuff sack pillow that like stuffs down, but it's like an actual pillow and it's amazing. It's my favorite thing. But if I can't bring that, I'm probably going to get on the air pillow train. And then 2, Luke said like nobody's paying us to say anything about this, but my Stone Glacier Sky Air Alt tent is probably
ULT, the ultralight tent.
Is probably my favorite tent. I mean, it literally since I don't use a sleeping pad, I like to have like a tub. So I've got the mesh insert, which is probably like, bad with inches, probably like that big. Tent itself, that.
So if you're listening, I think he made something about the size of his fist, and
then Chipotle burrito,
a decent sized burrito,
a
Chipotle burrito.
So I've got that, and it just takes stakes, and then you can either hang it up, you can either keep it up with a trekking pole, a stick, or guy lines entirely if you need to.
Oh, you can.
You can straight up. You can guy line it to like branches and stuff.
Okay.
And like by far, like saving the space in my backpack, not having tent poles and all that stuff. And you can fit 2 grown men in that tent if you have to.
I think I'm gonna try that thing. I've had a single person bivy sack for a long time, but it's still pretty big. Like it's probably 2.5 burritos. It's not particularly heavy, but it's just got a lot of volume because it's got a floor and all that.
For me, volume is big because I'm always running out of space.
Does that breathe, or do you get condensation in your?
It breathes. It's maybe overkill. It's like it's over probably 15 years old back from when I was doing a lot of mountain type stuff in college days, but it has like a mesh liner. It's a North Face.
Okay,
but. Yeah.
And I'm going to sneak one more in because I only stole the pillow from Micah. But they get bashed a lot, but and they're necessary for my tent. I love trekking poles. Anybody who goes out in the field and is like,
I'm a big fan.
You're not a real man, use trekking poles. We don't use. I'm like, listen, I'm like 25 years old, and they are not old man tools. Like, I love trekking poles. You can go so much further with those things. Like, to have basically 4 points of contact on the ground, whether you're going downhill or you're pulling yourself up a hill, it's unbeatable.
Well, all the stabilizing muscles that you don't have to rely on as much with the trekking poles allows you to be less tired and go further. I mean, the first day in Idaho just destroyed my trekking pole and was so bummed because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this.
Do you just do one? One pole?
Luckily
After the fact.
He had his Leatherman and they were aluminum, so I was able to kind of scrunch up the top of it, and it was just a little bit shorter and make it work. So
Because
thankfully
of the scrunching.
Thankfully it
Webster? Is that?
thankfully it broke in one of the segment portions where I wouldn't lose a whole
length.
Yeah, whole length for where the tightening fastener part of it is. So
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was a good one. Trekking poles.
I literally, like, if I can bring them, I'm bringing them. Like, having a 50-pound pack and, like, stopping on the trail and just leaning on them so you're not carrying that weight for, like, 2 seconds. Like, I love them. Don't ever bash trekking poles.
So for me, I mean, kind of getting back to the core feet, figuring out your feet situation. For me, that was finding the right set of insoles, and I've bought like a dozen pair over the years. So the right pair of insoles for you, if I know some people don't care for, don't even matter to them.
I've been lucky.
What do you use?
There's a small chain. This is gonna get weird.
Dr. Scholl's.
No, it's Trade Home is a shoe store that has, I think it's Soft Sole make a special insole for them, and it's sad because I've tried like 5 different other kinds of insole to try to imitate it, but if I buy those, I can throw them right into a pair of boots and I'm happy.
Good to go.
Yeah. So, but besides that, I would say Kifaru Gun Bearer. So
I don't know what
Gun
I don't know
Bearer?
the name.
yeah, Kifaru.
I knew Kifaru.
It's an ultralight. Anyway, the Gun Bearer it's a replacement for a sling. So you never have to have a sling. You never have a gun sliding off your shoulder, bugging the
that
the
drives
Jesus
me
out of you.
nuts.
So what it does is it attaches at your belt. They have a couple different ways it can attach, and that has a basket for the butt of your gun. The gun, the way I rig it, it comes up underneath your arm, and then right at your shoulder strap, it straps around right at the end of the stock.
Also, it's the muzzle's pointing forward.
Muzzle's pointed.
I'm going to have to
up
see
next
this
to
in
you.
action.
Yeah, and then you've got both hands free. You have one tug on a little strap, and all of a sudden the gun's out and in your hands.
I've been using the Stone Glacier version, but it puts the gun behind your shoulder.
Yep.
But the tether is right here at your shoulder, like right in the same spot. So you just yank that, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I love
Is
it.
that what that little loose strap is for?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're supposed to tuck it around, like over the shoulder strap, and then kind of.
I was like, is this a reflecting flag for, like, if I'm backpacking by the road? I'm really lost.
No, that's what that's for, Mac.
Okay, well, you learn something every day.
Yeah.
For me, I really like it under the shoulder, because then even if you're in heavy snow, you're in rain, you're actually kind of protecting your scope and your action with your arm. So it's not going to totally keep everything off of it, but it helps.
Yep.
Your muzzle's right there where you can see it. You don't get it, not hitting branches. You can actually, because as you're navigating through trees and stuff, you can see where your barrel is. It's not behind you, snagging on stuff, making noise.
Oh,
I do
yeah,
kinda
that's
like
a good
that.
point.
Yeah, that's a good point there.
Yeah.
And it's probably not as tall because
It's
it's
not
pointing
as
out.
tall. Well, yeah, I might have to check
And
that
you
out.
can set the distance of that butt pad, like
Yeah.
where that basket is.
You could do that on the Stone Glacier too.
Well, that allows you to either get it lower if
Right.
you want to not hit trees, or get it higher if you're doing a lot of deadfall,
Yeah.
because you don't want the gun barrel, or the gun butt hitting that
I'm
deadfall.
gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think the Kansas guy would have a good
Hey.
backcountry. Come on now.
Good job. So my first one is probably really simple to a lot of people, but I've been really minimalistic in the past, and I've never taken a down pant and jacket, both. I usually just I'll take some layers, but I've never done just a straight down layer. And I started doing that last year. And then actually taking the time to put it on. Like if you're going to stop for a while and just glass or watch, man, you can stay out way longer if you've got a really solid insulation layer. I'm not going to recommend a specific brand. I've used the Stone Glacier, the First Light, and the Kuyu, and they've all been awesome. But I think having a down layer is a really, really good idea.
Like specifically, I feel like most people bring a puffy. Are you talking
A puffy lower too.
I feel like the puffy lower is the key one.
Yeah,
there.
well, I used to not even bring.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, you're crazy.
No. I just tried to go real light, and I might throw an extra whatever base
those
layer in.
Puffies are so heavy.
It's the volume. It's not the weight. It's the volume. Because I mean, even collapse. Now we're the size of a hamburger, I guess. Now a big burger, since we're doing food comparisons. But it was more about the volume than it was the weight.
I do struggle with volume in my pack. I feel like that's always more of a problem than weight.
Yeah, I'm not super weight conscious, but volume conscious I am.
The Go Hunt Brady Miller did a long time ago. He was just talking about stainless steel, and I was doing his protein shakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I could save on the fuel and just do. I'd still bring the stove and do a dried, freeze dried warm meal at night, but the speed of not having to take out my whole cook kit and just have the protein shake and the shaker bottle to get in extra calories. And I liked how you could kind of tailor that protein shake. You can kind of put whatever you wanted in there and then hit your calorie count. The weight, I thought that was a really good one too. Especially if you're going in super serious and I'm ditching the stove and you're gonna forego the pleasure of a warm meal and just do, like, if you're all business and going in to kill something, and you still want to get your calories. I thought that was
I'm all business to kill something, but I like hot food.
Yeah, having a jet boil there is good.
So, I didn't know about your jet boil because I just been using that little mini off the internet Amazon burner thing, but I was impressed with that jet boil. I don't even know what that was.
The Minimo, I think.
Yeah, that one's good. The little bit wider one. Yeah, I like that one a lot. So my second one is for a long time, years ago, I had like this big water filtration thing, like this MSR. You had to pump it. Took forever. Wasn't fun. And this past year, I discovered it's a platypus gravity feed water filtration system. Super lightweight. You just fill up a thin bag, let it just drain through into a clean bag or straight into a water bottle, and it's easy. It's way less weight. It's minimal effort. It does take a little bit of time to go through it, but oh my gosh, it's so much easier.
It's probably great as long as it's not freezing cold.
Careful with those gravity feeds if you're trying to melt snow.
Yeah, there's limitations to every system for sure. Yeah, the filter doesn't like to get below freezing for sure.
Can you take the filter out of that?
It's a separate unit, so you can just replace just the filter part.
Because that's for the Sawyers. We were doing the same thing with the Sawyer inline for a gravity-fed filtration for camp, but when it gets cold, I got to take that stupid thing, put some caps on it, and then I have a tiny little Ziploc bag, and then I put that in my sleeping bag with me, so it doesn't same issue. Because if it's freeze, and then you're hosed.
Or not hosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dry. I used to be a guy that was like, I'm not going to filter water, and then I got Giardia, and that's that'll change your mind. Let's just leave it at that.
All right, let's go around and ask how people filter.
So the Sawyer Squeeze has a better flow rate than the Mini. It's not much bigger. A 10-liter bag that has a little quick connect, and I hang that around the tree.
Yeah, it's very similar. This is one I'm using. It's platypus. Sounds the same.
And so I'll do that, and then that bag hardly weighs anything, and the same filter I have can run in line if I want to run a Camelback and I have my little.
They've got that quick connect fitting.
Yeah.
Same exact. They're probably both made
similar
in the same Chinese factory.
And so I have my blender bottle for the protein shake thing, and I have the Camelback because again, it's the Camelback bag replaces the little collapsible bags that they give you or whatever. So I can hold water in that. I can hold water in the 10 liter. And the 10 liter is empty like all the time if we're constantly moving. Like if we're following elk or moving camp or whatever, like that thing's empty. And then when I get to a water source or I get to camp, then that's going up, and I'm not having to – I have all my nights if I'm doing freeze-dried, I got all the water I need right there. So that's kind of my system.
Those things are literally the best for in camp. I will say that, but the gravity feeds, like you get the big bags.
Yeah, I think they're lightweight. They probably weigh the same, if not less than like an older like pump water filter style.
They're hard to beat in camp because you can just keep going. You can
just
keep
do
going
your
back to
thing.
the well,
Yeah.
like literally.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I use the Sawyer Mini because it's nice and tiny, and this is a little airplane liquor bottle sized. That's for those of you not watching.
All right.
We're on the food.
Yeah.
And that I use that in conjunction with. They actually have these. They're pretty cheap. They're just bags. Like they're a little more durable than like a plastic bag. They hook up to the Sawyer, and you can actually like roll them up and squeeze your water out of it. The thing I like about that is I'll bring like 2 of them, and then if I'm going somewhere where I know I'm not going to have water, I fill those 2 mini bags. They're about like 32 ounces or whatever it is, or 20 ounces. I fill those up, put them in my backpack, and then I have that plus my Nalgene of clean water, and I can filter that after the fact and go up. If not, they roll down and they're tiny and weigh nothing. They're just like
Vapor
plastic bags, a little cap. I don't remember what they're called, but those have been useful. But they are kind of annoying. The squeeze does take a minute just to go out, so it's not the fastest one. Sometimes I'll also just pack a life straw if I'm really lazy. And if I'm really lazy and I know where I'm going, there's fresh water. I have not had Giardia, so I will just drink unfiltered water all the time.
Well, I'm interested to see what Zach's water system is because I have one that we
He's
haven't.
from Kansas. He just went back to the truck.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. What's your?
For a long time, I was using the Aquamira, the 2-drop system.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
what I use
Is that
forever.
like tablets
that is
or whatever,
the
like the
lightest
dissolving?
system.
That is the lightest, but
Yeah.
does do nothing for any particulates that are in suspension.
That's what your
in the
teeth are
liquid.
for.
That's what the
That's big
mustache.
particulates.
You just drape the mustache over. Yeah. No, and I recently bought I'm trying to think of what it is, the light, the UV
SteriPen?
SteriPen, the SteriPen
See,
Classic.
That was okay. That's
Yeah.
because I've seen some folks in the industry trending on that, and I was like, I don't know. To me, I'm like, oh, it's new technology. What is this light?
Yeah.
So I'm interested on.
Yeah, I just
on
got
that,
mine in the
yeah.
other day, and I was like, man, this thing's light. And I realized 4 AA batteries got to go in this thing. I'm like, oh, now it's way heavier
is
than
that
that.
like
that
UV filter
Yeah.
thing?
ultraviolet.
Okay. Yeah, I've not played around with those.
Yeah. So I used to be a big Nalgene guy, but the problem is they're voluminous and they don't carry that much water. So
They also don't break if you fall on them.
They don't. That's a good point. But so since I started doing the gravity feed thing, now I run like a 2-liter water bladder in my pack.
I do
with a drinking hose. So I find that I drink more often, and I can carry as much or more water that way. And for me, I really like that.
Although I understand that the concept here is don't fall, but what happens on a real cold day when you fall and pop that sucker in your bag?
If it's crazy cold, the line can freeze, and that has happened to me, and that stinks. But then you just take the hose.
I'm
that
talking
I
about
have.
if it pops
actual
in
bladder.
your bag.
Well, that's just
Oh gosh,
something
if I
that
fall
happened.
that hard, I'm dead. So I got bigger problems.
His back is split over the
Yeah.
backpack. So.
I mean, it's kind of protected. It means like, that would be a really catastrophic.
I do really
situation.
like Camelbacks, but I run into the volume problem, and that's where I run into a big problem with them. Because it's fine. I'll half the time I'll bring it uninflated in my backpack, but I go to fill it up, and I'm like, I don't have any room. There's so much stuff in here. Now, if you set up camp and you empty out, I really like them for that.
I like going in with a Camelback full because usually my highest period of exertion is going from the truck to wherever my base camp is. Like that's the most miles I'm going to try to chip off. And so that's where I'm the thirstiest. and I don't want to stop when I'm doing that to like get an Nalgene out. And if I did have a Nalgene, like I could crush the Nalgene in probably like
2 sips. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I've drank. Yeah, I think I'm drunk.
Micah, you got those beers you were talking about?
Yeah. This is 20 ounces. I've just about drained the whole thing just during this podcast. So, I mean.
Yeah. My water issues are well documented.
Yeah,
I feel you on needing
a
liquids.
32-ounce Nalgene just doesn't quite do it for me. I usually will bring one empty and just lash it to the back just for just in case.
Water carrier.
Yeah, but my primary water is the water bladder with the hose, unless it's like ridiculously cold.
Was that a 3 liter?
I have both a 2 and a 3. I usually run the 2 for volume's sake.
I run a 3 liter, but I'll only put 2 liters in it.
That's a good idea.
But if I have the option, if I know I'm not going to get water, I can load it up. And then I also have the gravity feed bag that I can load up. But it's a...
Micah doesn't load any of his water up before he goes to camp, though.
That's a whole other story.
So the opposite of my strategy.
Micah just goes with no water. It's kind of his strategy.
Is that a strategy?
And he hikes to places where there aren't water.
It's a bold strategy. But no, it's a moving target because like all my whole kit, it's constantly evolving and changing and finding what works for you. The downside is spending some money trying different things to try and find what works for you. I'm trying to find items that don't break the bank that like the pillow. It's $20 and 3 ounces and packs down to the size of a pack of gum. So. That was kind of a no-brainer.
So I've done a new pillow thing too. Y'all already talked about it.
All right, pillows.
So I found this. It's basically a backcountry pillowcase. I used to just like lay on a jacket or a shirt.
Yeah.
But being able to stuff them in there, I've
seen this. Yeah.
So I just literally, it weighs almost nothing. It's like
you just stuff your puffy into it, right?
Yeah, or whatever. Dirty clothes, doesn't matter. But it's so light, I'll just put it in my sleeping bag. And so it's like always there. And I'll just stuff something in there. But then it's a little more controlled because if you just sleep on like your puffy jacket, by the end of the night, it's flat and you're like, okay, I got no pillow.
Yeah.
And I just still want a little pillow, but it helps it to be contained.
Instead of sprawling out or moving.
Yeah, so there's no foam or no valve or anything. It's just it's like a nylon pillowcase that's super lightweight. So yeah, that's my pillow thing.
Another one I thought of was guys that can go through streams and stuff. My boots are old and need replacing, but having pinholes in waterproof air quotes boots. And I'm rocking a gator, and guys just trample across the stream like it's no problem. We're talking like mid-shin high water, and so every time that's my
point. Are you talking about intentionally putting holes in your boots?
No.
Now? What are you talking about?
No, I have pinholes.
Oh, okay.
And so what
Michael was afraid to cross streams when we were out.
Oh, okay.
So I have like one of them were like pink Crocs because it was the only thing I could find at Walmart before my hunt. And then the next year I got black like water shoes. They're like $9 at Walmart or whatever. And then I have them on a carabiner attached to my deal. And so every stinking water crossing, if I can't tiptoe across it or something, I'm stopping.
Change it. It's a 15-minute deal to take your boots off, gaiters off,
so
dry your feet off on the other side. Yeah.
So I know I'm probably just gonna get lit up online for this. It's like, just buy new boots that are waterproof. So it's been a point of contention, but I didn't know if anybody else brought extra water crossing.
I do actually. I don't wear Crocs. Sorry to offend any Croc wearers, but I've got standards.
Good on you. So good on you. It had to be said.
There is a really lightweight running shoe company. I think they're out of Boulder called Xero. Xero. They make super minimalist shoes.
Okay.
And they make a Chaco strappy sandal.
Okay.
That There's basically no padding. The sole is a French fry thick, if that, thin cut fry. Since we're on the food train,
We need
Matt.
to use all of our measurements
That was
in
awesome.
food.
That was awesome.
This is a Freddy's French fry.
Yeah, this is like a Freddy's
Yeah.
French fry,
Oh, yeah.
super thin. It's maybe even less than a Freddy's.
Is this a spaghetti strap, maybe?
Yeah, and the straps are real thin, but they weigh almost nothing. I mean, they're uncomfortable to cover like any real distance in with weight on your back.
Okay.
But to like do a creek crossing real quick.
Yeah.
And then I use those for kind of like my camp shoes. Like at the end of the day, if I
Mhm.
need to just if I'm in a spot where it's warm enough that I can kind of hang out without needing my boots on.
Especially around camp, or if you're glassing to air out your feet.
Yep.
So they serve as having camp shoes or tent shoes or whatever you want to call them. I feel like it serves a purpose, but at the same time, I'd like to not have to break down for, crossings and stuff. But this leads to my next point. Late season, what are you guys doing for your stream crossing situations for just toughing it out?
Yep.
That was...
I
got a horse.
No,
I was like, I'm not going through that cold
honestly,
water.
I'll
Didn't the horse throw you into the cold water?
Almost.
If it's late season, I'll take my pants off and then cross so that I'll have dry pants on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not had to do it yet, so don't.
See, I'm just a Gators and boots combination. Like this year, this last fall was when I finally fully destroyed my first pair of Kenetrex.
Okay.
And they're at the point where they're toast.
Well,
So
I used to be that way until like Mac and I were talking earlier. You start just going off trail, and all of a sudden you get to crossings, and it's more than gator deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and you might have to go a long way in either direction to find a spot that's not more than gator deep. And so
I think you guys need to walk around outside barefoot a little more, get some calluses, and that way you can just.
Man, I'm all for that, but with a pack on, I guess I don't.
One
have tough
ankle
feet.
under rock, wham!
No, I will be the first one. Like my feet are total wimpy. Yeah, cannot do it off barefoot or slipping on a slimy rock trying to cross is
Yeah, so I use those Zero sandals or like Chacos, but a fraction of the weight of a Chaco. So.
But look at those. I haven't found anything
those,
that's
yeah,
not
those are the
gonna
ones that
turn.
roll up. You had those in Alaska.
Yeah.
Those are sweet.
They're tiny.
I actually do need to
They're
look at
tiny.
those.
Yeah.
They literally roll up. They're the size of a cannoli.
Oh no.
Man. Yeah, we're gonna have to start doing themes. So
Yeah,
whenever you're
that's
trying to
good.
compare
Yeah.
something, you have to use this thing.
Problem.
Pretty
Now
good.
I'm hungry.
This is an enchilada, small enchilada size.
All right, well, we should probably land this plane. So really good chatting about all kinds of things. Didn't plan on talking about all the footwear and water filtration stuff, but I think it's good stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And if there's something in.
Yeah.
If you have more topics you want us to talk about,
Thank you, Mac.
If you made it this far,
If you made it this far through our rambling food fest, if you have more questions that you'd like us to talk about or topics you'd like us to talk about, you can email on our mark at weatherby.com.
Yep. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
yeah.